Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about World of Warcraft Classic Fresh, the, I guess, revamped version of World of Warcraft Classic. So for those who don't know, World of Warcraft Classic, which is the original base game, the original World of Warcraft, the first version to ever release, obviously a couple of years back now, was re-released, and I think everyone had a great time playing it. Pretty much it was a really fun way to kind of relive the classic experience, but as everyone knows, classic has undergone a couple iterations, from going from obviously classic to the Burning Crusade to Lich King to Cataclysm. Now they're releasing Pandaria. So it's definitely reworking its way through the history of World of Warcraft, and I think, it gets to the point where obviously, the concept of replaying the same game becomes a bit tedious. And I think the closer you get to current retail, the more and more you lose a lot of that appeal of Classic, because once you lose talents, once you lose certain things, now that you've introduced LFG, now that you've introduced certain stuff, what it does is tends to make the game obviously less and less like a different experience and more like a singular experience with retail. They've made changes with Hardcore, with Season of Discovery, but for the 20th anniversary and for just players who never got to experience it that first time, they have re-released Warcraft Classic. So I've decided I'm going to be partaking in Warcraft Classic this time around. But I want to first talk about why you should consider playing Warcraft Classic Fresh. Now, if you've never ever played WoW Classic, firstly, this is a much better way to get into it. Cataclysm, Pandaria, even to a certain extent Lich King, the leveling process and the functionality of leveling changed incredibly. In terms of like Classic and the Classic experience, it's one of the few times where the slow, meaningful leveling journey is something that is truly a thrilling, rewarding experience. Whereas, like, as it goes later on and they adapt leveling, I mean, Lich King's not too bad, TBC's not too bad, but as they bring that game more into the retail environment, the leveling experience changes, and the earlier levels become more of a grind to get to the end. Classic's experience is largely in the leveling. Of course, it's in the end game like all MMOs, but Classic's leveling experience is so much more of a component of your MMO journey in Classic than any other point of World of Warcraft. Maybe Burning Crusade, because it's essentially the same game, but pretty much no point else in the history of World of Warcraft is the leveling experience so big a component of your journey in this MMO. Not to mention the limitations of classes. For example, if you look at Tauren only having 4 specs, if you look at humans not being able to play Hunter, you look at Trolls and playing 6 classes, you look at Gnomes and not being able to play all the classes, and you look at racials, you look at obviously the functionality of the characters, you look at the fact that they have different abilities, different passives, different languages, and talent trees, of course, and pretty much everything else. The experience is really honestly something quite incredible, and I think for me it's definitely something that is a unique experience to go through for the first time. For people who are used to retail, and for people who haven't necessarily played World of Warcraft that much, I would say, like, I haven't played the Classic experience that much, I would say personally, don't be scared to play Classic. I know it can be daunting, especially the earlier levels. I think a lot of characters and players don't tend to get into it, but I think for me, like, if I'm being honest, you want to take it with a pinch of salt. It's not necessarily like it's not necessarily an experience you can just dive into. It may take you a little time to warm up. It may take you a little time to get into the game, but that's okay. Watch guides, enjoy the experience, get lost in the world, because the continent of World of Warcraft, from Kalimdor to the Eastern Kingdoms, is so big and so massive, and you very rarely in WoW ever like experience the whole experience. You very rarely get to travel across the continent. You very rarely go to all the villages in an area and partake in the quest lines and the storylines and enjoy yourself. And for that reason alone, I think you're going to want to play Classic. It's really something that, firstly, I think if you're a retail player and it's not for you, it helps you to appreciate the things you like about retail. And I think also it shows you things that maybe you can learn to appreciate in a way, like seeing some of the really cool adaptations that they've made, but also as well seeing things that actually are really cool. One thing for me that I've always liked the most about World of Warcraft Classic is the RPG elements. The fact that, for example, you can just have an incredibly fantastic RPG experience where you have to open up your journal and read your quests, and you have to select to track them, and just in general, like, all of it is really, really good. You get talents, you get abilities, these cost gold. Your items that you find and pick up can be useful and helpful for many levels. All of that is something that's almost unheard of in current World of Warcraft, and I think it's something that I at least really find that I enjoy experiencing. But yeah, realistically, at the end of the day, there is no specific reason why you should play fresh. But I think if you didn't partake the first time, I think it's really a good excuse to partake in the game. I'll be doing some videos on like some top 10 tips, some UI tips, some add-on tips. I'll be doing videos on leveling guides and things, everything you need to know to get up to speed with Classic and to have a good time with Classic. And I think, yeah, if you're someone who never experienced it, give it a go. You won't be sorry. And if you don't like it, it's fine. There's a reason why you enjoy retail, and that's okay. It's really not a problem. But yeah, that's it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.